You are now listening to the Messed Up Podcast. Messed Up. Messed Up.
Hello, welcome to the Messed Up Podcast. Number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Well, the first two were a little messed up in more ways than you can imagine. But we're hoping this third one is a little smoother and a little clearer. Why would that be, Dee?
That would be because we have clear minds and we are focused human beings.
We are focused. And we also are invested in some new microphones. So here they are.
Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Now, no small animals were killed in the making of these, okay? Although it does look like.
Could have fooled me.
And we have a better camera system as well. So give us feedback in the comments down below.
Let us know.
And let us know if there's quality of sound and picture is better.
Yeah.
The content mightn't be any better.
That's true. It sounded a bit like monkeys in a can last couple of episodes, didn't we?
And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to push that trolley back because you know what? If the plane landed on top of him, he'd still like,
That feels nice. Nice massage.
yeah,
Maybe we sounded like quite a couple of monkeys in a cage. And we'll talk a little about a monkey in a cage. As discussed in the first couple of episodes, I have a drinking problem, an addiction, alcoholism, whatever you would like to call it. It's not a nice thing to be in, and I'm sure there's other people out there with other addictions, and I'm sure you know some people who have addictions, and if you don't, you are very fortunate. I'm not trying to solve the world's problems with addictions, but I'm just sharing, or we are sharing our story as a father and son who go through alcoholism.
It can be a bit of a curse, I would say, a bit of a disease.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it affects more than just you. Most of the time, I would say, it affects more than just yourself. And so I'm glad you're feeling a bit better and looking a bit better. And
Yep, so sobriety is a good thing. Feel a lot healthier. Been sober for almost 2 weeks now, coming up. So
some kind of
one day at a time, they say. There's a well-used saying. But mentioning monkeys, or the way I like to describe my situation is I have a monkey in my mind, and the monkey is my alter ego. I also have a cage, and the cage I refer to as my discipline.
Okay.
So if the monkey's in the cage, that's a good thing. And then I have a lock on the cage, and the lock is my decision making.
Okay.
So the lock's been firmly shut for a couple of weeks. And I also have a key, and the key is a trigger. So we all have days and we all have moments, months, years in our life where we have triggers. And sometimes a trigger can be as simple as had a hard day at work, going to go home and I'm going to have a drink. And unfortunately, my position now with drinking is that cannot happen.
As in you can't allow it to happen? Or
I can't allow myself to have one drink.
Okay, yep.
And someone once said to me, 1 drink is too many and 100 is not enough. And that is,
Wow.
that resonates with me.
It's powerful.
So, at the moment, the monkey's locked in the cage, and I have the key. So the key can be, as I said, a trigger. But even though you have those triggers, or I will have those triggers, the lock being my decision making is the next step. And so even if I have a trigger, I need to make sure that my decision making is solid, and then the lock remains intact. Even though I've gone for the key, the lock's intact, the cage is keeping the monkey inside.
Okay. Is it normally like one trigger or Or is it maybe some consecutive triggers or emotional or?
It can be one trigger. Sometimes it can be one trigger.
Mm.
Sometimes you can have a triggering moment or an event and you handle that okay.
Okay.
So the lock remains intact. And then sometimes you might have a number of triggers, and that's where it becomes harder to not unlock the cage. And the trouble is, having the first drink means that I've basically used the key. Having 2 or 3 drinks may lead me to unlocking the cage.
Okay.
And if I unlock the cage, then there's a good chance that the monkey will come out of the cage.
Okay. I think I can. Obviously, every issue is very different and very complex. But I think my monkey, I have like a rage monkey, you know, which has been. He hasn't had the key for a long time, and I plan to keep it that way. But you know, just series of consecutive events. Normally, it's more than one. You know, it's like it's timing, it's situation, maybe a couple of things that tick me, and then next minute you're someone that you don't want to be, and you know, you're putting a hole in the wall, or you're yelling at people, or saying things you wouldn't normally say out loud, or you know,
Hurting people that
Yeah.
you don't want to hurt.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always seen it as like a volcano, you know.
Building.
Yeah, I sort of spoke about it more in depth in the video I just did, but it's a volcano, and it's okay. It's okay if there's a couple of things, you know, you can sort of level it out and just keep moving on, you know. But if it gets too much, sometimes it bubbles over and then hits you when you can't control. You can't control when it hits you, sort of thing. So it can even surprise you, and it can certainly surprise friends, family, partners, work colleagues, and it's never a good look, and you never feel good after it. Almost immediately after, like I think males are good at forgiving pretty easily, like and pretty soon after. You know what I mean? We don't tend to hold grudges, but when it's yourself, that shit that digs in. Like, so say it happens at work, next day you're working again with the same people, and you need to, you know, apologize, or you know, instead of keeping that monkey in the cage like you should have, you let it get to a point where it's now affecting how people view you, how you view yourself, and yeah, it's very important to get that shit worked out, you know.
I think I can relate to the rage monkey. Not so much nowadays, because I just consume copious amounts of alcohol.
Drown the monkey.
When my monkey comes out, and even when I drink, and Dylan will attest to this, I don't become angry or violent.
No, maybe a little passive aggressive, I would say.
Perhaps.
And maybe you don't even see that. Like, it's just sort of it's a bit blurry, you know what I mean? As it would be. Like, I mean, there's no way I'm drinking that much. But yeah, it just a little passive aggressive. But I'm glad it's not anger, because that could lead to some bad things.
And I have seen your rage monkey, and sometimes I've brought that on myself. The last time would have been post-flood period, when we were...
Oh, yeah,
yes.
Yep. That was when two monkeys collided.
Yes, there was the alter ego drinking monkey, and there was Dylan's rage monkey.
I think it was about 4 volcanoes at that point. Just to put it in perspective, it was the flood, and then 4 that was.
Yes. And I think once the monkeys quelled, I think there might have been a drive that you took me to a detox facility.
Yeah.
So let's come back a little bit. We'll go back to detox facilities later, or another episode.
Yeah.
So if my monkey gets out of the cage, that is basically me getting to the point where I've already isolated myself. I'm not a social drinker as such. I'm not a pub goer. I drink in isolation.
It's very sad. Yeah.
It is. And that is the only thing I will focus on, drinking, and getting to the stage where I wipe myself out. I'm usually in my room, lonely. And so the monkey's out of the cage. The monkey has the key. I don't have the key anymore. The monkey has the key. In fact, it gets to the stage where the monkey loses the key. The monkey destroys the cage.
The monkey has some crazy dreams too.
The monkey hallucinates. And, you know, we may be lighthearted about it now, and it's probably a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But once that monkey has smashed the cage and lost the key, it is extremely hard to get the alter ego, the monkey, to the point where, because now he rules. He rules. He's out of control. It's very hard to get the monkey back in the cage because there's no cage. So the steps to getting the monkey back in the cage are, number one, building the cage again. And so from a mental aspect, that means that myself, mentally and physically, have to go through a change, obviously. The physical aspect is harrowing. And that's where detox is the only option. And when I say detox, I've been to 3 detox facilities in 2 states in Australia. They have all been terrific, but it's basically a 14-day period where obviously you sober out, and that is through IV drips, because they need to replenish your fluids, because you're usually extremely dehydrated to the point where your skin wrinkles, your lips are dry and cracked, your tongue is terrible. And then they give you shots of vitamin B, they give you diazepam to calm your nerves, because you go through shakes, tremors.
Yeah. Shakes are really bad, aren't they?
So I've done it independent of detox facilities a few times, and that's not something that you should do. It's not medically sound, but that's the desperation of me trying to get the monkey back in the cage.
Oh, you mean you've done it like by yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Without the drips or anything. Just
in
water and
it's you don't eat. You usually haven't eaten for 4 or 5 days before you've decided to give up, and then it's extremely hard to eat. You just don't have an appetite.
It's almost amazing that you can get to that point after the monkey having a key, that you can see, almost see the light and try to get, out of what you're in, you know what I mean? Like,
sometimes it's been the influence of other people.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when I say I've been to detox 3 times through the system, 2 of those were voluntary, in the sense of voluntary, and 1 was involuntary. So there was one time where I was actually taken there, and we'll tell that story in a later episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing it on your own is not recommended. For 4 or 5 days you don't sleep, you have the shakes, you shiver, you go through hot and cold spells, your body feels like it's been run over by a bus hourly. But it's not something that I want to ever go through again. But I know that I'm a day-to-day proposition. But at the moment, I know I feel healthy. I feel strong mentally. and I'm actually happy because once the monkey gets out of the cage, initially, it's all well and good, but you do get to a stage where you're extremely depressed, and so I'm happy. I feel loved.
Keep yourself busy.
Well,
does that help?
You once you get to the day 6, day 7, you get motivation back. You want to do things.
Yeah.
But during that period of time before that, it's basically you're in the same setup as if you were drinking.
Without it.
Well, in the sense that you just want to be on your own.
Yeah.
You just because you don't want people to see you.
I sense that a little bit.
There's a transition period, but all well and good now. So that's the story of the monkey in the cage, and we'll probably touch on it in episodes going forward. But I hope I'm not here to try and teach people or educate people. It's our story.
Yeah.
And Dylan has been through it with me a couple of times where the monkey has been out of the cage and the cage is smashed. So.
And I've learnt as well, and I think we've gotten stronger because of it, and we sort of understand where each other is at and where sort of how we're already very similar, or we think similar things have similar morals, I would say, but it definitely gets you to that next level of understanding, and sort of you can understand without talking sort of point. But yeah,
I think from my perspective, seeing how you've travelled through, this journey with me, and I haven't always been like this. There's, obviously there's been years and days, and, I've been 300 days or thereabouts sober when a trigger happened, and it was back in the Brisbane floods. And Dylan's house was flooded, and we'll talk about that topic perhaps in another episode, but that was a trigger. I'd been 300 days sober, and one of the last things I grabbed before the house went under was a bottle of Jameson's, and I'm not trying to plug Jameson's, but there was a bottle of Jameson's that had been sitting on the kitchen. I don't even know whose it was. It certainly wasn't mine because I've been sober for so long, but I'd walked past it, many, many days, and, I might have looked at it, but I never thought of opening it. But when the water was, up to my ankles in the house, the last thing I grabbed was that bottle of Jameson's, and that broke a 300-day sobriety. So there's a trigger.
There's definitely some good talking points more about the floods, and we'll touch on them coming podcasts. Now I think we have a little game we're going to play.
A game?
Yeah.
I love games.
So I've got
Is King Minion playing the game as well?
Yeah, Despicable Minion. Can you guys see that? I hope so. Well, he's there anyway. So I've got a list of some words that are perhaps some slang words from recent times, or the last 10 years or so, and you've got a list of yours from 100 years ago or whatever. And so
I didn't know I had to go back to Shakespeare's slang.
Well, there you go.
So this is the game of slang words. So Dylan's going to give me 10 slang words from modern times, and I'm going to try and guess what they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So rough definition.
Okay, fire away, Dylan.
Okay, based.
Based. Based. That is to brush a chicken with, like a marinade.
I like it, yes, but based is like when someone has an opinion that's like, whoa, but you're like, oh, that's actually pretty based, It's a based opinion, like
unique.
Might be a little bit unique, but it's actually kind of like, oh, I kind of agree with that, Based. So
based it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to keep going, or you?
No,
Alright.
you do yours, then I'll do mine.
This one you might know. I think you might know this one. Drip.
Drip.
Yeah.
Good?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I guess so.
Open and handy. Drip is like the clothes that you wear. This is my drip, you know? Do you like my drip? Fancy drip?
Yeah.
I got all this drip. Yeah.
I'm going to have some new dialogue for the next episodes.
But they're very food based. We've got based and drip.
I was going to go. It's, water leaking out of it.
Mid.
Mid. Mid. Halfway.
Yeah, I guess. Like if something's mid, it's like very like meh, you know. Oh, that's mid.
Midstream.
She's mid. He's mid. You know. They're like average. You know.
Okay.
Yep. Or he played a mid game. How'd he go? Oh, mid. You know. Just like middle of the Okay. Bet.
Bet.
Hmm.
Bet. Jeez, maybe I am old. Bet. Risk.
Okay. It's like I need to know my own definitions. So it'd be like, I'll see you at the park later. Oh, bet. Like it's like, oh, okay, or yeah, sure, or you know.
Okay.
Like
And what
that.
did I say?
Risk.
Risk.
Different game.
When were these slang words brought up?
Cap.
Cap. Top.
Or how about
Best.
What if I say it like this? That's cap.
Cool.
No, it's like that's a lie, or that's not true.
Oh, okay.
So if I say no cap, it means like true. Like,
True.
Seriously.
No cap.
Yeah. All right. Gyat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gyat.
Go.
Okay, gyat. No, gyat is like if you see, well, for me and you know, if you see a girl that looks nice, maybe she's got, a nice figure or something, we'll say gyat. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you can play along at home with this game, okay? And in the comments, tell us how many you got, because I'm sure you're going to do better than myself.
Yeah, I know a couple that would. NPC.
NPC.
Yeah.
No problem, Charlie.
Not even close. Well, maybe Charlie's close.
How can it be not even close?
NPC is like non-player character, or like it'd be, in games when there's just the people
Robot
walking
or
past.
bot or
Yeah, they're just like, what you could say,
like in
that person's an NPC. Like they're just
like in
a
Grand
society.
Theft Auto when you run over people.
Yeah, they're NPCs, but
NPC.
but if you say that in real life, it would mean they're like boring, or they're like
Not interesting.
Yeah.
Not worth looking at.
yeah, NPC. Bussin.
Bison.
Bussin.
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 That's bussin.
Bussin. Hip. Dancing. Moving.
Okay, not too far off. Yeah, I think that's possible. Like if I'm eating this meal, you say how was it? I could say bussin. It was bussin, which is really good. Yeah,
Okay.
really good. It's grooving, I guess.
Okay.
All right, your turn.
Well, I think you have a better chance with mine because mine have been around for 100 years.
True.
I think you should get at least 8 out of 10. Okay, spunk.
It can mean so many different things.
It could.
Is it semen? Okay, if it's not semen, then it might be attractive guy.
Yeah, generally.
Okay.
And you could be a spunk rat. They get really good looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a rat's tail? Rat's tail? Or not
Not
necessarily?
necessarily.
Okay. All right.
That's one way of not being a spunk. Okay, rack off.
Like F off, but nicer.
Yes. See, this is not fair. Okay, stoked.
Over the moon. Happy.
Ace.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Top.
Veg out.
Relax.
5 out of 5. Devo.
Devastated.
Yes. Carked it.
Sleep. Passed out. Sleeping. Carked it. He's carked it. He's hit the hay. He's tummy.
Dead.
Oh,
So you were close.
Okay. All right. I thought
But
it was
not right.
I thought it was a little less definitive than that. That's crazy. Okay.
Um,
All right. Well, I hope I don't cark it soon.
Geez, I can't even remember this one, and that's why I picked it. Galoot.
Okay, you got me.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay, guys, I'm not going to tell you the answer. I want you to put the answer in the comments below.
Galoot.
Galoot.
Galoot. I got
Galoot. Galoot.
No idea.
Okay. Gnarly.
Sick, rad.
Yep. Grommet.
In the ear.
Mm.
Is it an ear grommet? I don't know.
Sounds like. Grommet, young surfer.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So 8 out of 10 for you, D. Well done.
Okay, well, I didn't have 10. I only had like 8, so.
Oh.
I had 8, and you got...
None.
I'll give you 0.5.
No, I think I got 1.
Okay, I'll give you 1.5.
Okay, so that's our game. Tell us how many you got out of 18.
Let me know, because I still won't know what galoot is. So.
If you're younger than 30, you probably should focus on my ones. If you're older than 40, Dylan's ones. If you're in between, you have to do both. Okay?
Yeah, that's really unlucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing we want to talk about are things that have stuck with you, lessons that you've learnt in life from other people. It could be sayings, it could be a way of doing something, or it could be someone who's inspired you to do better, or just to achieve something that you thought perhaps you couldn't achieve.
Okay. Well, I've got one that maybe doesn't quite fit that mold, but it's definitely stuck with me, and I'll probably think of some more as we go on. But I remember one time this guy told me...
This guy?
Yeah, this guy.
This guy.
Told me I could do anything I wanted, but just don't be a chef. And it stuck with me forever. Like I always, and it wasn't like it just stuck with me and I was like, oh, whatever. It was like, it stuck with me. And so I'm not saying it like stopped me, but it was always in the back of my mind. You know what I mean? And I think I'm okay with that. You know, it was just it's not like good or bad or anything. It's just funny that it always stuck with me. You know what I mean? And it's a funny thing to say as well, you know, right?
Well, it's funny because you have spent time in a kitchen, and there was a period of time where you were thinking of doing an apprenticeship. And if you had have asked me there and then, I would have said to you, no, Dylan, do not get stuck in the kitchen.
I mean, I believe that was the sort of gist of it, and I can understand. I can sort of understand why. You know, it's a lot of work. It's not much money, and you don't get appreciated. You know, and
well, there's particularly before I went into chefing, doing an apprenticeship. There was a perception that chefs got paid well. And if you reach the level where you're an executive chef in a hotel, absolutely, you earn good money. And I'm not saying you don't. And there are other options as well where you can earn good money. But for the amount of hours, the amount of stress, the amount of lifestyle sacrifice that you have to make, because generally you do split shifts, you start early, you have a couple of hours in the middle of the day off, and you finish late. You divide that by the amount you get paid, and honestly, you could earn more money in most other fields.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I did a diploma in nursing 3 years ago, and the amount of money that I've earned in the last 3 years far surpasses the amount of money I would have earned in the kitchen in the same period of time.
It's very inspirational that you did that, and it goes to show that nowadays obviously time is important, but at any age you can sort of choose to change your career or go this way, or dedicate yourself to something and come out with better results, and that's of course good for me to see, but hopefully good for anyone at home to hear as well. Yeah.
Well, that brings me to speaking of inspiration or people who have had an effect on you. A very good friend of mine, I was managing a bottle shop for 8 years, and it was a great family I worked for. I loved them dearly. It probably wasn't great for my addictions, but couldn't have worked for a better family, had a great lifestyle, and also felt part of their family. But this very good friend of mine, she said to me one day, is this your lot in life? And I took affront to it initially. I was like, I've been a chef. I've worked in many different places. I've worked for the largest food manufacturer in Australia at one stage in research and development as a chef. And I'm managing a bottle shop now, which is an extremely successful bottle shop, probably the most successful bottle shop in southern Queensland for the per capita. And then I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm close to 50, close to 50. Maybe there is more in my life. And I think she might have actually suggested nursing. And when she first said that, I sort of, it was something that left field that I, didn't think it was possible, but then made inquiries. And absolutely one of the best bits of advice I've gotten off someone. And, questioning where I was at.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the financial advice that I've received off this very good friend too has been rewarding as well, extremely rewarding. So
yeah.
Other people that have inspired me, my 4 children, they inspire me. They have made me reevaluate situations and give me meaning going forward, as well as my grandson, who's a crazy good character. He's a very good boy, and his mum's doing a terrific job. So yeah, I get inspired by you guys, and my parents inspired me as well.
Yeah. Music.
So the next thing we want to talk about is music.
Oh yeah?
What were your favourite 2 songs?
Yeah.
Or favourite 2 artists, let's say,
Okay.
when you were 16?
16.
16.
Oh, that's so long ago now.
Not as far ago as it was for me.
It was easy for you. There's no music.
It was no music. It was some of the greatest music going around
There was
in the last 50 years.
Okay, so when I was 16, wow. I'll probably have to go back even further to narrow it down that far.
Okay.
So my introduction to music basically was Jesse McCartney. I don't want another pretty face. That one. And then Green Day, who my sister listened to, and then I was like, oh, Green Day, and started listening to them, and I loved them. And then from there, into the rap ways and sort of. But yeah, I shared a song with you the other day that was sort of a little bit off key. There's the Evgeny Grinko Carousel.
Okay.
So if you don't like rap, which a lot of you might not, check it out. It's a very nice song. It's a little sad, but it's very nice. It's just all instruments.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
And I like listening to that style of music, like no lyrics, just like piano or Beethoven or that stuff.
It actually surprised me. Yeah,
when I'm listening, when I'm playing chess or something, like it sort of sets the room, and it's really cool.
The mood.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the mood. Yeah.
Well, it is easier for me to remember, my 2 favourite artists at the time, I actually had to buy cassettes. I had to walk into a store and actually buy the music. We couldn't download back in those days. And cassettes were the option. You could buy records at the time, but cassettes were a trendier, hipper thing. You could put them in a small Walkman, attach it to your side, and you were the hippest kid in the raddest kid going around. So the 2 artists that I remember buying on the same day, at the same time, were Bruce Springsteen, which is quite apt because I think his movie's coming out soon, Born in the USA, and also Madonna's Like a Virgin.
Okay.
Touched for the very first time.
So were they like? Were they like singles, sort of?
No. When you bought a
whole
cassette, you got the whole album as such.
I used to stick my fingers in those things.
That's right. You tighten them up.
Yeah, tighten them up.
Many a pen was used to tighten them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what people used to use.
Yeah, my music only goes back as far as probably like a Walkman, you know, like the Walkman, the Discman, you know.
Discman. Yeah.
So it's sort of not too far away, but
no.
It's definitely still.
After the cassette came the CD or the disc.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the influence of my sister's music then because my parents and I had travelled up the east coast of Australia, and we ended up in Airlie Beach, and my sisters were in Melbourne at the time. Okay. So it was purely, I didn't have that influence from them. If I had it would have been Kiss or Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or something like that. But yeah. Madonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had you like heard it on the radio or something?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had radios. Oh. And also Countdown was big then. Countdown was a TV show that used to come on every Saturday night with Molly Meldrum. And so I mean, Madonna was massive then. Easily the biggest female singer around the time, and Bruce Springsteen was probably similar. So I was pretty mainstream, I guess.
It's crazy how much music you can put in like such a small, you know, like a phone or, you know, nowadays. Just how quickly it's gone from cassette to Discman to MP3, where you can have a certain amount of songs to now a phone, or now you can look up any song you want, and it's incredible, isn't it?
The phone is an incredible device. Yeah. And, you know, you have, you know, your Spotify playlist now. So, but nowadays I tend to download quite often new songs.
Dad went out today to wash his car, and he as he was driving off, he was listening to PIMP by 50 Cent. So I was quite impressed with that. I was like, oh, who else's dad's doing that?
And it was quite loud too. But hey, if you're going to listen to 50 Cent, it wants to be loud. So yeah, no, that's good. Very good.
I'm trying to think if there's any other things that have stuck with me. I've just got my sayings that I sort of I learn and I stick to them. Tend to the garden you can touch. Look after the people that are in your garden, you know, before you worry about anyone else's. I think it's a pretty good one. Motivation is a blessing. Just do it, you know, because motivation, it doesn't, I mean, talking to the neighbour earlier, you need motivation, you know. You can't really make it happen, but you can make it happen, you know. You can sort of bring it to the surface by just doing it. Once you start, get the ball rolling.
It's a fantastic slogan for a sportwear company, isn't it? You just do it.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. I mean, you can sit there and procrastinate and think about it and, you know, think of reasons why you shouldn't or have some distractions. But in the end, just do it.
No one else is going to do it.
Just do it.
You may as well.
Another one is no one's, and I'll get this wrong, but I'll get that. Hopefully you get the gist of it. Is no one gets it right the first time. So if you see someone that's successful, they've made many mistakes before that. So don't be afraid of making a mistake.
There's a musician that you recently took a liking to, isn't there?
Oh, well, there's two, but one more so than the other, because one is quite mainstream now and everybody knows him.
That's Teddy Swims.
Fantastic voice. Love what he's doing with his image too. It's breaking down barriers.
Like a rugged but sort of smooth.
Yeah, exactly. And don't judge a book by its cover, because if you just saw him and didn't know who he was, you would think, you know, this guy just, you know, drinks at the bar and rides a motorbike and But yeah, like phenomenal voice, and if you actually hear him talk, he's got his head in the right place.
Okay.
But the other one is Ren, and
R-E-N?
R-E-N, from Wales,
Okay.
I think, or sorry,
Sure that's not Pinocchio?
UK. But a rapper, a little of the ilk of Eminem, and I don't want to, compare the two, but he has struggled with, I think he struggled with a mental condition that was deteriorating his body as well.
Yeah.
And I think don't quote me, and if I get it wrong, correct me in the comments. I think Lyme's disease.
Oh, wow.
But he was misdiagnosed for years and years and years, was basically stuck in his room, his bed, couldn't get out. And now the music that he's singing about is, it's not everyone's cup of tea, that's for sure. But he's extremely talented.
He's a musician.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
And he can play many instruments. He's got a swagger about him. But also he's real. I saw a video of him when he first got to number one on the UK charts. And he was with all his mates. And to be honest, you would have, and they're just on a back porch. And if you didn't know who he was, you would have just thought they were, a bunch of lads who, were just hanging with each other. And here he is, got number one. And the way they celebrated and the way he celebrated was just so humbling to see, because he was truly, he felt truly blessed by the fact that he had become, I guess that his music had been heard by so many. And I guess any musician would want that.
Yeah.
I heard someone say on the radio today, a singer, he was being interviewed, and he said, and he's very successful, and he said, if one person has heard my song and it's had an effect, I'm happy.
And with Ren, I'm sure, like if you ever listen to any of his music, I'm sure it's definitely helped some people.
Yes.
It's so unique.
It's different.
It's very good.
It deals with mental problems. It deals with, there's one song where he's basically fighting with his alter ego.
Yeah.
And he's
It's his
basically
monkey almost, isn't it?
It's his, we all have monkeys. Some of them are better behaved than mine. But he's basically in an asylum, psychiatric ward, and he sings this song, and it's, he's basically singing, his alter ego singing, then he's singing, then his alter ego, and his...
The music changes, and it's very clever.
Yeah, very clever, and it's poignant, it's quite deep, and I actually, the first time I heard it, I wasn't sober, but it resonated, it was sort of inspiring.
It sort of keep you above a little bit, or
relate. I guess I felt sort of I know it sounds stupid, but I felt support.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not comparing what he was going through with what I am, but there are so many similarities.
Yeah.
And
stuck in bed.
Yeah. Another guy that inspired me a while back was Matthew Perry. Unfortunately, he passed. But friends. Yeah. Chandler, was it? Yeah. And my daughter actually bought the book for me, and so I read it, and there were some key moments in that book that I could relate to, and there you go. So there's people out there who, regardless of how popular they are or how successful, we all have our demons, monkeys, whatever you want to call them. We all have them to fight with, and I'm not suggesting that you can help everybody, but just have some empathy sometimes. And okay.
Well, good.
We covered quite a bit.
To touch on the monkeys again in other episodes.
Oh, absolutely. The monkey will hopefully stay in his cage but come up in future episodes.
Yep. Let us know if there's any questions you want us to answer, or maybe a would you rather that we could do. Would you rathers? Would you rather this or that? And we can sort of do them on the next podcast for you. And hope you enjoyed this one.
I think there's some key takeouts from this one. Keep the monkey in the cage. Keep the key away from him. Support people around you. Show them love. Care for them. And be there for them. I am so grateful for the support that I've received from not only family but friends. Because
listen to good music.
Music is actually therapy. As long as you listen to the right music, and it's like, watching movies or series. Sometimes we get ourselves into a situation where we're actually watching the wrong things at the wrong time. So sometimes be aware of that.
Be very aware of that. Yeah. And if your mood's a little off, or you notice something's a little off, change it. And music can help with that, and lifestyle, and maybe a bit of exercise or a walk, can help with that. So
all good.
Awesome.
Don't get addicted to bad routines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or bad people. All right.
So give us comments, give us likes, subscribe, and we'll see you episode 4.
Let us know if the audio is all good, camera's all good, and we'll do our best to adjust on the fly. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you when we're looking at you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Messed Up Podcast. Wah!